Welcome to Literal BS, the podcast where we cut through the noise, dissect the spin, and uncover what's really happening in the United States today. From the highest offices in Washington, D.C. down to the policies shaping your daily life, we're here to pull back the curtain. Each week, we dive headfirst into the critical issues affecting our nation. We'll scrutinize the legislative battles on Capitol Hill, from those big beautiful bills and their hidden impacts to the intricate dance of foreign policy that shapes our global standing. We'll unpack the landmark Supreme Court decisions that redefine our freedoms and peer into the workings of the Department of Justice, examining shifts that directly affect your civil liberties. And yes, we'll connect the dots, exposing the threads of government overreach, the chilling reality of surveillance, and the undeniable presence of corruption that too often operates in the shadows. This isn't about partisan shouting matches. This is about informed discussion, critical analysis, and empowering you with the knowledge to understand the systems at play. Because in a free society, an informed citizenry is the ultimate check on power. So, if you're tired of the literal BS and ready for a deeper understanding of what's truly going on, you're in the right place. Let's get started. The latest news on birthright citizenship centers around a significant Supreme Court ruling issued on Friday, June 27, 2025, which impacts the scope of challenges against the current administration's executive order on the matter. The core of the ruling is that the Supreme Court limited the ability of federal judges to issue nationwide injunctions. These are broad orders that block federal policies across the entire country, affecting everyone, not just the specific parties involved in a lawsuit. In a 6-3 vote, the conservative majority ruled that such universal orders likely exceed the authority granted to federal courts. What this means for birthright citizenship. Partial victory for the administration. This ruling is seen as a victory for the current administration, which has argued that these widespread injunctions have hampered its ability to implement policies, particularly on immigration. Uncertainty and potential patchwork of rules. While the Supreme Court limited nationwide injunctions, it did not rule on the constitutionality of the administration's executive order itself. That order, signed in January 2025, aims to deny citizenship to U.S.-born children whose mothers are unlawfully present or temporarily in the U.S. or whose fathers are neither U.S. citizens nor lawful permanent residents. Cases return to lower courts. The cases challenging the birthright citizenship order will now return to lower federal courts. These judges will have to decide how to tailor their orders to comply with the new Supreme Court ruling. This could lead to a confusing patchwork of rules where the executive order might be blocked in some states, those that specifically sued and won relief for their residents, but potentially take effect in others where no specific injunction applies to them. New legal strategies. In response, civil and immigrant rights groups immediately filed new class action lawsuits seeking to establish nationwide relief through that mechanism as suggested by some justices. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, in a dissenting opinion, urged lower courts to act swiftly on such requests to ensure prompt review by the High Court. 30-day delay. The executive order cannot take effect for at least another 30 days from the Supreme Court's ruling, providing a brief window for further legal action. For over a century, the 14th Amendment's Citizenship Clause, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, has been understood to guarantee birthright citizenship to nearly everyone born on U.S. soil, with narrow exceptions for children of foreign diplomats. The administration's executive order challenges this long-standing interpretation. Okay, now let's break this down. The Supreme Court's recent decision, Trump v. Casa Incorporated, severely limiting federal judges' power to issue nationwide injunctions, has sparked significant legal and constitutional concerns, particularly highlighted by the dissenting justices. Here are the key problems identified. 1. Erosion of judicial power and checks and balances. Weakening the judiciary's role. Critics, most notably Justice Sonia Sotomayor in her scathing dissent, argue the ruling kneecaps the judiciary's authority to stop the executive from enforcing even the most unconstitutional policies. By effectively stripping lower courts of their most powerful tool to halt unlawful executive actions broadly, the court, she claims, abdicates its vital role in upholding the rule of law and maintaining the separation of powers. Existential threat to the rule of law. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, in her own dissent, warned that the decision poses an existential threat to the rule of law by allowing the executive branch to violate the Constitution with respect to anyone who has not yet sued. This suggests that government can act unlawfully nationwide until each affected party secures an individual injunction. 2. Practical inequities and access to justice. patchwork of rules, the decision will likely lead to a fragmented legal landscape where an executive order, like the one on birthright citizenship, might be blocked in some districts for the specific plaintiffs who sued but fully enforced in others. This creates confusion and inconsistency in federal law. Burden on individuals, as Justice Sotomayor pointed out, this forces countless individuals impacted by a potentially unlawful policy to file their own lawsuits, requiring significant resources, time, and legal access. This makes constitutional guarantees meaningful in name only for any individuals who are not parties to a lawsuit and disproportionately harms those lacking the means to litigate. Increased litigation and court burden. Instead of a single nationwide ruling, the decision could lead to a proliferation of identical lawsuits across the country, further straining already overburdened federal courts. 3. Questionable historical and constitutional justification. While the majority opinion penned by Justice Amy Coney Barrett asserts that nationwide injunctions were conspicuously non-existent for most of the nation's history, dissenting justices argue this is a selective reading. Sotomayor contends that federal courts have a long history of granting broad equitable relief, and the majority does not identify a single case in which this court held that federal courts may never issue universal injunctions or broaden equitable relief that extends to nonpartisan misinterpretation of complete relief. The majority suggests that injunctions should only provide complete relief to the plaintiffs in a given case. Dissenters counter that sometimes the only way to provide complete relief for a plaintiff, in other words, a state facing administrative burdens from a nationwide policy, is to block the unlawful policy universally. 4. Open invitation for executive overreach. Critics argue the ruling incentivizes the executive branch to push the boundaries of its power, knowing that widespread and immediate judicial checks are now significantly curtailed. It essentially creates a grace period for potentially unconstitutional policies to take effect across most of the country while individual legal challenges slowly wind through the courts. In essence, the problem, according to legal critiques, is that this decision, while addressing concerns about judicial overreach, simultaneously appears to tilt the balance of power heavily towards the executive branch, potentially at the expense of individual rights and the consistent application of constitutional law. As we bring another episode of Literal BS to a close, remember this. In an age where information is abundant but truth often feels scarce, the greatest power you possess is your ability to discern. We've delved into the complexities of politics, examined the fine print of policies, and shone a light on the forces that shape our world, often with layers of spin, half-truths, and outright misinformation woven through them. It's a challenging landscape to navigate, no doubt. The sheer volume of competing narratives, the algorithms designed to confirm our biases, and the deliberate efforts to obscure facts can make it feel overwhelming. But that's precisely why our shared journey here, on Literal BS, is so vital. It's not about telling you what to think, but empowering you with the tools to think critically. It's about equipping you to recognize the literal BS when you encounter it, to question the easy answers, and to dig deeper beyond the headlines and the sound bites. Your role in this isn't passive. It's an active, essential pursuit. Seek out diverse perspectives. Verify what you hear. Challenge assumptions, even your own. Because in a world awash with noise, the disciplined pursuit of truth isn't just an academic exercise. It's the bedrock of an informed citizenry, the lifeblood of a functioning democracy, and ultimately, the path to a clearer understanding of the reality we all share. Thank you for joining us in this crucial endeavor. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and never stop seeking the truth. We'll be here next week on Literal BS.